This is the single greatest time in my 29 years, I gotta correct my bio, 29 years, this is the single greatest time to be in real estate that I could ever imagine, right? And I can remember lots of times in the real estate market over the last 3 decades. This is the single greatest time. How many of you believe that fundamentally? Say aye. Okay, those of you that didn't raise your hands, you scare me. Or you just watch the news all the time and you wake up every day like this. Ah! Housing is hot, yes or no? And it's always going to be hot, yes or no? But the world is changing, yes or no? And you're changing, right? That's what I want to talk to you guys about. I don't want to talk to you guys today about listing and selling real estate. Thank you, Wendy. I want to talk to you about, I sit in a unique situation every day in that I get to talk to you about 25 to 30 startups and CEOs of new companies, and I've got clients all over Europe, and Iceland is super fun right now. The #1 agent there is one of our clients in Iceland. Like, she does 300 deals a year in Iceland. There's 300 agents in Iceland. You with me on this? She totally dominates. And I say that only because I get this unique perspective about how the world is operating. And of course, I read a lot, I study a lot, and I'm interested, and I ask a lot of questions, and I spend time with people that are in the industry and outside of the industry. And you know what? The world is looking at the real estate industry, the outside world, the finance world, the investor world, the VC world, and they look at this industry, and you know what they see? Bags of money everywhere. Who knows what I'm talking about? I spoke with an investor this morning who said, oh, you're in the real estate space. We'd like to talk to you guys because we think this company and that company, and oh my goodness, in the real estate space, 17% of the GDP. This is the most exciting time. Your space is exploding, and there's so much opportunity. And then I go do a seminar in Iowa for agents. And I got friends in Iowa, so I'm not dogging them. But some of them are still trying to figure out, should they be on Facebook? I had someone tell me recently that email marketing is dead. I was like, what? I had a woman actually say to me recently, I know you talk about video being important, but you have to understand, I have issues with the way I look. And being on video, I'm like, wait a minute, do your friends know you? Do they know what you look like? Your friends are on Facebook, you're marketing and video, this is the world, and what's fascinating is there's just all these people, instead of seeing the abundance and the opportunity, they go right into a fixed mindset from fear and doubt and worry and cynicism, as if sticking your head in the sand is an actual strategy. Do me a favor, turn to your buddy, just look your buddy right in the eye in a loving way. We're at a convention. If you have a threesome, just go with it. Right? Sir, you're a very lucky man right here. I honor that. Hey, you're paying attention, buddy. So do me a favor, look your buddy right in the eye, and just in a loving way, look him right in the eye and say, your head is a scary place to be. Know what I mean? Thank you for doing what you guys do. All right, so come back to me. Now, Leslie, can we give Leslie Appleton Young the biggest round of applause on the planet, please? Okay, lot of love. Stand up, Leslie, stand up. And we both got the memo, dressed like Johnny Cash today, you're making it look really good. So, Leslie's like, hey, will you come and you talk about mindset? And I was like, yeah, but I don't want to talk about mindset from just a purely real estate standpoint. I want to talk to you as if you were a friend of mine who called and said, hey, you know what? I see this enormous opportunity, and I'm struggling to grasp how much of it I can take on. I'm a proponent of this. Everyone just say 86 billion. Say that. Okay, say it again. That is the estimated commission paid out in the US today to real estate professionals. 86, give me the number. Tell your buddy what percentage of the market share you have. Well, Tom, you don't understand. I sell homes in Lodi. Shut up, sell all of them. It's a different methodology of thinking that allows extraordinary individuals to create new opportunities in California. Guys, who's from California? Raise your hands. Okay, taxes aside, we have the best state, yes or no? Yes. Right? Every day I talk to my accountant, he's like, move to Texas. Move to Texas. I'm like, have you been to Texas? I wake up, it's 78 and perfect every single day. And when it rains, we're like, this is awesome. right? We live in the greatest state. There is abundance everywhere, and there's people sitting inside this room wondering if they should call their past clients. I want you to get how stupid that sounds when I hear it. I'm not sure if I should call people because, like, what if I say the wrong thing? And what if I do? I'm like, shut up. And then I say, hey, don't worry. You don't have to call them. Someone else will call them for you. And then they're going to go to 8 million different websites, and then somebody's going to arbitrage that and sell the lead off multiple times, and it's okay. Don't worry. It's okay. You with me on this? Like, it's fascinating to me. So play a game with me. You ready? In 2020, which will be here on Tuesday, like that. Who has kids that you're aware of? Who has kids? This is a convention. If you're single, pay attention. You with me? If you name your child San Diego, we know what happened. If you have kids, do they not delineate time for you? Like they timestamp everything, right? So 2020 will be here like that. Yes or yes? Now here's my question. In 2020, what does your ideal business look like? 86 billion. I like how you think. I want you guys to all imagine for a second. Who's been selling real estate for more than 30 years? Raise your hands again real fast. Okay, so play a game with me. You ready? Someone asked me recently, I was doing an interview for like an Australian real estate whoobie-doo, and they're like, so if you were to come to Sydney and you were to go into real estate, what would you do? I'm like, oh, it'd be very simple. I would basically arbitrage every possible online lead source that I can get, right? So I'd buy the leads. You with me? I would have 2 or 3 people that all they did is just mature the leads, call, follow up, convert, set appointments, that kind of thing. I'd have a team of 4 to 6 listing agents because they don't do buyer representation in Australia, right? So no buyer side. Just have 4 to 6 listing agents. They would just go on appointments all day long, right? And they would never do anything other than just go on appointments. They would go on appointments, they would show up, they'd make a professional presentation, they'd ask for the close, boom, 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 go back, do the next one, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. I'd have 2 to 3 people that are extraordinary at making sure that breakage doesn't occur in a transaction, that the client experience feels like Amazon. You with me? Get on my phone, boom, buy, next day or in hours, it shows up. And they're like, well, what are you gonna do? I'm like, nothing. I'm gonna be in the Great Barrier Reef snorkeling with my family. And I'm gonna do 800 or 900 deals a year in Sydney. Because everything that we see today in our business can basically be outsourced. And yet there's people inside this room that are wondering, what new marketing campaign should I start next year? The world is shifting really fast, yes or no, guys? Yes or no? And no one cares if you don't like it. Who's figured that out? Like, you guys with me? Like, the market is the market, and it's going to get what it's going to get, and buyers and sellers are going to find what makes sense to them, yes or yes? But I don't like that. No one cares. Right or wrong, guys? My personal client is probably physically more mature than most of you inside this room. She's going to be 80 coming up in February. I've been her business coach now for 19 years, right? She sells in La Jolla. Do you guys know where La Jolla is? Right? And she'll do, sometimes 11% of the market, sometimes it's 12% of the market, one year as high as 17% of the market. They'll do, call it 75 transactions on the low end, not the oceanfront crazy stuff, the low end, like 2.8 to 4.2 million, 3-bedroom, no bath. And here's the deal, guys. At 80 coming up, all she says to me, what else is going on? What's new? Who are you meeting with? What are you thinking about? What do we need to do next? How do I, you know what she says? I want to be the most relevant, hot grandmother in the business. Like, that's her deal. You with me on this? And iPad listing presentation, had to take Words with Friends off because she was just playing Words with Friends for days, right? Super addicting. But she's going to be 80. And then I talk to 30-year-olds that are like, I don't want to make phone calls, man. You with me? Or we're switching to a new lockbox system and it's really bothering me. Right? I, in a loving way, want to punch them in the throat. You with me on this? You manage 77 people, baby, so you know, right? It's like herding cats, isn't it? It's kind of exciting. So I say all of that just to open you up to think. Say the word abundance, please. I do not mean that to be motivational in any way, shape, or form. There's $86 billion to be paid out. I guarantee if every one of us opened up our personal savings account right now, and we all showed everybody else inside the room our personal savings number right now, after we all threw up in our mouth, we would suddenly become motivated. You guys with me on this? Is the world going to shift in the next 3, 4, 5 years? What do you guys think? So if it shifts tomorrow, how do you do financially? Does anybody remember 2007, 8, 9, or is that too long ago now? Does anybody remember 1989 or 88 when the stock market crashed and the whole world fell apart and we were like looking at the East Coast like, ha ha ha, right? And by 1993, Seattle was even devastated. The reality is, my friends, that cycle is going to repeat. The thing I want to stress to you right now is you need to have huge levels of abundant thinking, not just because it's motivational and it's exciting and, Tom's trying to wake us up, because the world is going to shift again, and guess what? Whoever has the cash wins. You with me on this? Okay, just look at your buddy and say, you don't have enough money. Oh, that was cute. She's like, oh, you don't have to tell me. I know I don't. That was awesome. I heard you from all the way over here. Now, could you guys just read that out loud really fast? Read this quote out loud. Go ahead. So in the concept of abundance, it means more of the same only gets us more of the same. You with me on this? If I just keep I've talked to, 1,000 agents in the last couple of days, and everybody's in business planning mode right now. Like, okay, 2018, my best year ever. What do I do? I'm like, well, what worked this year? What didn't work? They can always tell me that, right? It's usually around one transaction that blew up and it was emotional, it was a big deal, and they didn't have any cash, right? But getting people to acknowledge this is what worked, put it on steroids. This is what didn't work, stop it. But then you have to have a whole R&D department called rip off and duplicate other people's success. Do you guys know R&D? Right? Like you get a really cool direct mail piece at your house and you're like, that's pretty cool. Cut their head off, put yours on, change the phone number, hit print and go, right? Like that's real estate, yes or no, guys? My old buddy Howard Britton, that was his entire career. It was awesome. But see, here's the thing. If you aren't spending 5 to 10% of your efforts every single day right now on R&D, on where the customer is going, on how Alexa is going to impact real estate, how video is completely taken over the world, if you're missing that stuff, look guys, okay, look up here. Somebody's got to be Blockbuster. Someone gets to be Netflix, and someone's got to be Blockbuster. Somebody bought a ton of horses right before the car showed up. The change that's coming, guys, is going to be fast, and it's going to be intense, and you're either going to be ahead of the curve, thinking about where it's going, and R&Ding and twisting and playing with and testing and trying and asking your customers, what do you think is going to happen, and where do you see it going, and what would make a real estate transaction beautiful, and what would make it horrible, and build your life and business around that, or we know what can happen. How do I believe, click back please, how do I believe the consumers are going to change in the next 3 years? We have 78 million young men and women that are all getting ready to buy a house, and if they had their druthers, they would do it all through their phone. Right or wrong, guys? So the first thing I said to you was abundance. Let me say to you the second thing. You guys ready? Shh, look up here. Whether you're a real estate broker or a real estate agent or you're an association, let me give you a little hint. Teams have taken over. Who's figured that out? Now, let me give you some data. Could you please go to the next one? My buddy Steve Murray, many of you know, Real Trends, extraordinary individual. I spent a lot of time with this guy. He gave me this quote in January. The top 250 teams have averaged 42% growth over the last 5 years, where the top 250 individual agents went backwards on average. That is from the Wall Street Journal Top 1,000 Agents. 5-year case study looking at the teams are going like this, and the individuals in one of the greatest real estate runs we've seen in a long time, the individuals are falling off the list because it's nearly impossible to stay at a high level of performance when you're trying to do everything on your own. You with me on this? Hey, it's Coach Tom Ferry. Have you been considering hiring a coach? If so, click the link below and check out what we do.